Okay, so hello, welcome to the fourth week of the TCL-35. This week we'll be starting with demos by David. Then Chamaka will be presenting the pair programming module. I'll be presenting issues. And David will be hosting office hours and Chamaka will be doing code reviews. So let's kick it off with demos.
Okay, let's go. So, um, do you want do you want to go in order, or maybe anyone wants to go first?
Okay, so I think you can go.
Okay, go ahead.
Please, can you enable the screen share? Go for. Oh, I can't share my screen.
It's okay now.
Okay. It does give me some seconds.
Sorry, Dima, you tried to share, it didn't allow you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me, okay.
Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So I think for this past week, our issue was to enable users to be able to share and join. That is issue 5, to be able to join a given list by sharing a token that already exists. So the acceptance criteria there was that when the user does not already have a token in the local storage, we should first of all display the onboarding or home screen so that the user can be able to enter a token. So when the user enters the token and we submit it, so we should save the token to the local storage, as well as giving the user access to be able to share, have a joint control of the list. Then if the token does not exist, as the token is not in Firestore, so we should display an error message, and also keep on showing the home screen so that the user can try again or enter another token. So that is what we implemented. So I will show my code. So this is how we went about. First of all, we had to create a form. So this is the form we created, and then we place this label share token, and then an input where there was a place. There was a placeholder that has this 3-word token there. So to enable the user to know that the token is likely a 3-word token, which he must have obtained before then. So
Edema.
that is it. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was going to say that maybe it's going to be better if we you show first the thing working, and then the code.
Okay, I think that will be fine. All right. Okay, so Okay, so this is for a user that does not have any token existing already. So first of all, display this the home screen. So this is what will be displayed. Let me say the user types in any three-word token. Let me say jump in here. Okay, as a token, clicks submit. This token is not already in the Firestore, so it shows this message: token does not exist. Enter a valid token, and you can see there is no token like that in our database here. So that is why it cannot be able to fetch it. So, but if the user enters a token that is existing, that is there, let's look at it. Let me see a token that is there. Let's go with this one, Ruth Busy Lopez. So let's say, okay. So once a user clicks on this, so it will be able to, it will display the list, the items, to take you to the list items, either the local host or our URL/list, to navigate to it and display, search every item that is in that shopping list and display it. So that, and immediately that is done. You can, if you check in our local storage, it has set that token there. So if I should delete this and then still go back to that, I will just want to refresh it. If I refresh it, it will show the home page. To show the home page to us. So okay, let me say, as they show in the home page, I enter that three-word token again. Let me say jump in here, join list. It will set it here, and if it can't be able to fetch it, it will still show the error message. Okay, so that is the demo, how it is working. Don't know if there is any. Before I show the code, I don't know if there is any question about it.
Yeah, it's great. So anyone has any question before going to watch the code?
I just saw in the browser that the wrong token is saved to local storage.
Edema, you're mute.
Oh, you're muted.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Any token you enter at all, in as much as it is, you enter something valid, you type in something, unless you did not type in anything at all, so it will not save anything to local storage. But if you type in anything at all, it will save it. But immediately you enter any other thing you enter, once you change it, it will replace it immediately. So if I should type in, let me say the right thing now. If I should type in the right thing and join list, it will replace it in my local storage. So,
Yeah, but for example, there can be a corner case if you put, can you delete the token and go back to the previous page? Delete and refresh the browser.
okay. Okay, I should refresh. Okay.
Yeah, if you put the token that does not exist, for example, put that it's go to the form and put the token that does not exist.
Okay, any token can.
Yeah, jump in here or whatever. Okay, if you go click on join an existing list,
yeah,
and then you refresh the page, for example, what is going to happen?
I should refresh it. Okay.
If you refresh now,
So you don't have it. It tell you that you don't have any list yet. So it means this token is not associated with any list.
Maybe an improvement for it's as it is, it's complying with the acceptance criteria, but that's a corner case that maybe you will have to check in the future. Okay, so let's go through the code.
Okay, so in the code, we just created a form. So this is our form. So, and then a form just it has a label and then the input where we have to enter the input. So on change, we have a function that handles that. So anything you type in the code, once you do that, it will set we created a state where you store the token. So we just get anything you type in from the input field, and then we set the join list. We created a state called join list here. So we set it to that value. So after that, the next thing after is for you to submit. So once you click on submit, so it will call this function handle submit. So this is the handle submit. Handle submit, first of all, we prevent the default. Sorry. I think there is a change here with from what we had. Okay, I actually removed this. Is if so if okay, I think it's in order. So it's first of all prevent the default. Then if the join list, that means if we have an item in our state, so we just set this is where we set that this is where we set the token in our local storage to the value that we have, to the value of whatever we have in that state. So after that, we call this function fetch token. But if you did not enter any value, let me say you did not type in anything, it will just jump this particular condition. So it will just fetch tokens directly. So if it can't be able to, if there is no token fetch, it will still display that error message for you. So this is for the fetch tokens, this is what we did. We implemented it, we created a function here, fetch token. So first of all, the fetch token will have a reference to our shopping list, which is this using this item collection ref, which is our shopping list here. So we get all the documents. Is an exchange form. So we get all the documents. So when we get it, we iterate through it. Yeah, we iterate through all the documents there. Once we iterate through it, we have to destructure it to get the token, because we use the token as the token is, we use it as the ID. So we destructure it to get the ID, and the ID is the token. So it will provide a list for us, a list of tokens. So we now have to go through it. If the token list includes whatever we have in our join list, which should be the value of the token that we entered. If it does not include, we use this, we negate it to, if token list does not include it. So we created a state to show that we don't have any shared token. So we set that, initially we set it to false. So, but if it does not include, that means the join list is not there. We have to set it to true. And we also set the show error message to true. The show error message is also another state that we created here. And we set it initially to true. So that will determine if our error message will show or not. So in under our form, inside our, in our form, we also created this component that we had to render, this component that we had to render conditional. So this component will only display if these and these are true. So if there is no shared token and they should show error message, so it will display this component. This is the error component. We just created it here, and we simply displayed the. I don't know. I want to move this. Can you see my? I want to move my. This is my Zoom. I don't know if you can see the component fully. Okay, so we just display the error message and then we just a simple component. So we call it here. We imported it into our home. We imported it here, and then we just called it here and pass in. Anytime we want to use it, we simply pass in a message. We do this in such a way that maybe you want to reuse it. Maybe there is another place you still want to display an error message like that, but a different error message. You can simply call this and pass in the message that you want to display. So that is how that will display. So, but here in this, after it has set this to true, so we make sure that that means it can now display. But how do we make sure that after some time it should go off? So we use this set timeout. So set timeout, we pass in, it takes a function that it will call after this particular time, which is 3 seconds. So after 3 seconds, it will set our show error message to false. Immediately that is shown to false. That means this condition will not, both of them will not be true again. This one will become false. So that means this component will go off. It will not show on the screen again. That is why immediately it displays after like 3 seconds, it will go off the screen. So that is the implementation there. Don't know if you have any.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. So anyone has some questions about the code?
I think on line 40, hold on, which line? I think it's a block from 45 to 48 that's causing the it's causing the token from being saved in storage, even if it's not a valid token. I think if you run a conditional there, then you don't save a token to your storage if it doesn't exist.
For 45.
Yeah, I think it's between 45 and 48,
45.
where you do the
This
handle
to set it-
change.
Okay, does the if the AC said that we should not set it, if it doesn't say this, like we should not set it to local storage, I think it would have easily done it. We did not take that into account, that we should not set it. It does mean that any token that is gotten we should set it to local storage and then fetch the data from what we have. Then if it doesn't exist,
You'll
then,
override it anyway. Yeah, I think.
yeah, we'll override it. So
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if you ever want to change something, I think that's quite easy. So it doesn't do much. Yeah.
So how our app is structured, if for a user to join an existing list, it means the token is already existing. That's why we need to check if it's in the database. So if it's in database, we take them to the items and then we fetch the items already existing in database that is attached to that token. So if you don't check if it's existing before checking to local storage, what if the user refreshes the browser? And we know that we've told the app that so long as there is a token saved in local storage, the user shouldn't be in the home page. So if the user has the wrong token saved to local storage, they can't go to the home page again, and they don't know what local storage is to go and change.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so they'll be stuck.
I think that is a valid, yeah.
Yeah, they can't go back to the home page. They can't change their token. They will just be stuck with no items attached to the wrong token. So I think you should do the check. Immediately the user clicks submit, you do the the database check. If the token is existing, then you save it to local storage and then take the user to leave. But if it does not exist, don't save it, just display the error message.
Yeah, I think that is a better implementation. So that we follow this literally as it was given to us, like when the token is entered, we should save it to local storage. So we follow that procedure. So I think if that is it, maybe we could also change the way this comes up in the we could make this to come first. The fetch tokens should come first. Then after the fetch tokens, it is only then that this conditional will run. So that means if it fetch tokens, then
yeah, you already have a state for if it exists. So you'll not be checking if it exists is true. Then you say
yeah.
It's really nice. Good job.
Yeah, thank you, Edema, for the demo. Yeah, good job. And now let's go to see the next issue. Nana,
Okay.
are you ready?
Yes, I will need to be able to share my screen. Yep. Okay. Great. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So so the work we had to do this week is mainly testing and just doing kind of input validation. So the basic idea is that when we add an item to the list, the item needs to be checked to see if it already exists in the list. And we need to perform a number of checks for capitalization, for white spaces, for non-string characters. And basically that's it. So let me just move the Zoom stuff out. So let's see how it works. So I have, this is an interface, and this is basically the file that I worked on, which is that add file. And here is the existing shopping list, so we can see what's happening here. And this is the one with the token that I'm working with. So this one, fun, stung, tripe. And we can see there's 3 items currently in the list, bread, apples, and bananas. So we're going to try a number of inputs just to see what gets accepted and what doesn't. So let's do bananas, which is the same spelling, exactly the same item. And we're going to see that item already exists. And then we can do bananas with the capitalization, exist. We can put some spaces. Bananas, the spelling has to be the same. More spaces, it already exists. We can also do, I think apples exist as well, but this time we put some weird characters in between. And you should still reject it because the not the numeric, the alphabetical letters are still the same. So we see that's rejected as well. And I think that covers most of the cases. And then if we put an item that's not in there, oh, wait, that's not right. Hold on. Why is that happening? Let me see if I'm on the right list. Oh, I'm on a different list, guys. This is great. Sorry about that. Pig, camel, tick. Okay, I'm on this list. Oh, so wine I just inputted. So let's check again on some of these items just to make sure I'm not delusional. Coffee, same spelling, already exists. Let's do coffee. The different spelling, so this should be accepted. And let's see if that's in here now, coffee. Let's try another one because I didn't test the last one properly. Celery, and this time we put some weird stuff in here. It already exists. So we see that the input validation is working. So now we'll look at the code. So I worked mainly in one file. So we'll just look at one file and the changes that was made here. The first part is using the user effect component. I basically copied this from some existing code we already had to just get the existing items into the file so we can use that data. And next is where the validation is performed. So when a list is passed in, we want to make sure that we iterate through every item on the list. And if a list has an item name that's not entered. So if you don't have anything, it's just an empty item, you're trying to enter that, we're going to render an error that tells you it's empty. And if we have cleaned the item and we have cleaned also the item already in the list and they are the same. So basically, if everything is in small letters and everything is stripped away of spaces, stripped away of any kind of junk in between the strings, they're the same, then we're going to render the error that says it's a duplicate item. And then we'll return false, otherwise returns true. So this is going to give you a return of a Boolean value. And then we're going to validate. So this is a validation method here, where before we update any of the shopping list, we're going to perform a validation. And if it returns true, so basically there is no duplication and this item is good to be entered, this is some code we already had, you just add the item. Otherwise, we set the error to true and we perform a timeout. And this is where the error message in red is rendered. So that error message is going to be displayed here, where has error is true. And then we basically render out the error message here. And I think I had some of the errors in somewhere. Oh yeah, I think I had, yeah, this. So there's an error list, which is basically an object with key value pairs of what the error messages are going to read. So if you have an empty string or empty input field, it's going to say, please enter an item. If it's a duplicate entry, it's going to tell you item already exists. Maybe in the future we have other errors and we can try to kind of organize them in one space so that we can read the error list more easily. That's it.
Can you go please up to the so was it your first time with regular expressions?
Sorry, was it my first time with what?
Regular expressions.
Regular expressions? No, I've used regular expressions before. But no,
Okay.
this was not good. I didn't do, wait, what did I do with regular expressions here?
Yeah, is there, you have a regex in line 42?
Yeah.
No, it's because a lot of people normally it's like with this one, no, because it's easy, but it's like a nightmare.
Oh, I've used regular expressions before, luckily. So yes, I've
Yeah.
done quite a bit of input validation. So yeah, luckily I've done a little bit. I don't know a lot of regex. I still find it extremely difficult, but this little bit is not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Cool.
Yeah, speaking of regular expressions, usually whenever I need something, I search on Stack Overflow and copy paste.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do the same. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, the email validation is super long, for example.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the depending on like what, I think there's like a validation API even within JavaScript, right? Because I'm using that right now. You can just sort of validate your email directly from the client side even. And then of course, from the server side, you want to do that as well, maybe. But I think there's a lot of like add-ons you can use, right? Like you can just sort of use someone else's code and like validate. Yeah.
Hey, great, thank you. Super cool. Any final questions about any of the issues?
Just want to say good job to everybody.
Okay, so before going to the next issues for next week, Shamaka is going to host I think it was pairing, right? Yeah. So go ahead, Shamaka.
All right. So we're going to take the pair programming module, learning module. Okay, so we structured it in such a way that we'll just go through it, what it's supposed to be, pair programming, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll talk about how it's been for you, if you've been following the content of this thing and what your experiences has been so far. So it'll just be like a discussion section after this. All right, so pair programming, So by definition, pair programming is when two developers sit together in front of a computer and take turns writing code using just one keyboard. So when two developers sit and then code using one keyboard. So among the two developers, one is called the driver, the other one is called the navigator. The driver controls the keyboard and is responsible for writing the code they need in order to complete the task. So the driver will try to verbalize their thinking process as much as possible as they code. And then the driver thinks low level about the code. And then there is the navigator. The navigator pays more attention to the code the driver is writing, offering guidance, suggesting alternatives, finding answers to upcoming questions and challenges, and acting as a sounding board for the ideas the driver is coming up with. So the navigator thinks with a bird eye view of the code, unlike the driver who thinks low level about the code. So they just like complement each other. So pair programming can also be done remotely. They don't have to be in one position, in one location to do that. So if it has to be done remotely, these are the steps. The two developers hop on a video call or screen share call. Then secondly, the driver shares their screen and then codes while the navigator provides feedback and then asks questions. So the driver pushes the code to remote repo, and then the navigator pulls down the code locally, and then they swap roles and start all over again. So that's the step it takes to pair program remotely. So there are some mindsets and attitudes that are expected of the developers during pair programming to make it really effective for the both of them. So pairing is an exercise in sharing your Lego. It can be more efficient to go with your pairing partner's idea than to argue on approach. So the developers should have beginner's mind, embrace doubt and possibility. The pairing, the section should not be about teaching nor mentorship. It's an opportunity to learn. So you should have a learning mindset that both of you are going halfway on it. So the driver should seek agreement before proceeding. Then the navigators should ask, don't tell. So you're kind of suggesting, how about we do it this way? Do we do it this way? And not like an idea on your partner. So that's basically the mindset and attitude that is expected for pair programming to be effective. All right, that's it. So it's really short. So the last slide is about the resources, but here we'll talk about how it's been for you. So how does this align with your pair programming experience so far? Have you been doing driver, navigator, and have you been doing it together, like, or you do it asynchronously where one person will code and push, the other person will now pull down and then code theirs and push back? How has it been for you?
It's been sort of like we get together, talk about the big approach, how you would approach the problem. And then if there's no like blockage, then we sort of write out some of the high level stuff. And then if we get stuck where we don't know how to do something, we sort of break apart and then figure it out and then come together the next day, kind of.
Oh, like, okay. So do you like code on video calls? Like you write code?
I think we have, right, guys? We and Fatima and the demo, we have done that, right? We've written together on calls. Like we just pull up an editor and we actually do write together some.
I did that with Fatima before.
Yeah.
And also with
think-
Edema, we do pull requests, right? No, yeah, not pull requests. I mean, like we push and then pull.
I did pair programming with IU and Dana, but for with Edema, we just pull, like we work separately, then pull and see the changes.
Okay.
Okay, then we come together and see the changes and suggest, like just few pair programming with Idema as well.
All right. But how have you been finding the the experience so far? Has it been helpful to you? Like, is this something you want to keep doing? Pair programming, coding together?
I think if you're really stuck on something, it's hard, right? But yeah, but when you kind of know, yeah, sorry, go.
You were saying something.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the pair programming, yeah, it's always sometimes it's always good if maybe you've started out something already, so or you've already had ideas. So when you now come, if it is like live coding, so it will come together. It's more like a debugging session or like contributing ideas. But if it is like starting things from scratch, sometimes it's seem better or like more efficient. We just have a starter, just like have something on board individually, then push, and then the other person pulls, and then from there we'll do one or two things, and then from there people can then come together. I think that one that saves more time, and like people will really make the really good use of the little time. So both of them come hand in hand, but it always depends on the stage of the coding, actually, like the stage of you are that your user. So if you're just starting out or you've done something before, or and that, so that is how I've really finished everything.
Yeah. I also think it's a really nice experience, and it's good you have the experience now, because probably when you get your jobs in tech, they normally do it with probably a senior developer. They will pay a senior developer with a junior developer, probably to help you unblock or to do anything. And it's really helpful because you get to learn from the person. You get to see their own thought process. Because personally, I like to see how some other person will approach a problem that I've solved before. So that's how I find pair programming really helpful. All right, thank you. So about the materials, I'm going to post them on. Okay, I'm going to share this slide and then also post the links in case if you want to read further about pair programming. Thanks.
Thank you, Chamaka. And now we're going to see this week's issues. I'll go to share my screen. I guess you can all see it. So this week we are at issue 7 and 8. So we're like halfway across the project. And so issue 7 is, as a user, I want to see a welcome and prompt to add my first item if my list is empty, to help me get oriented to how the app works. So we have to add a prompt like a call to action to get the user, to direct the user to start using the list. And here's a very basic wireframe. So a button is a good idea for a call to action, and you can also add some text. In general, try to make it welcoming, and try to think how it can be more welcoming to the user. And then we have issue 8. As a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased, so the app can learn how often I buy different items. So the acceptance criteria are that the user is able to tap a checkbox or a similar UI element to mark an item in the list as purchased. And the item should be shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made. So we assume the user does not need to buy the item again for at least 1 day. One challenge your pair may work through is figuring out how you have to test this. For example, you might create a few sample items in Firestore and then manipulate the dates. And here is another wireframe. So it should start looking something like this. Checkboxes or any other UI element you can think of next to each item. So the idea of this is that the user clicks on it on the checkbox when they buy something, and then it stays checked for the whole day. Do you have any questions on either issue 7 or issue 8?
Please, can we see that wireframe for the last one you showed?
Yep. So here is what it will start to look like. Of course, these are from later issues, the details, delete, etc. For this issue, you should only add the checkboxes. And the colors and area labels, these are in the common issues. So you don't need to add the colors yet.
Okay, once a user wants to add an item, so once you click.
Yep, you click to mark it as purchased. So you add the item, and maybe you don't purchase it at that moment. You should have to click a checkbox.
So it's like when you click and it will stay checked for the next 24 hours.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, of course, some questions might come up when you start working on the issues. Post them in Slack. You might realize some new things. So who wants to handle each issue? These week's teams are Fatima and Ayu, and Dema and Dana. So who wants issue 7? Okay, I'll just assign it to Fatima and Ayu then. And the Dema and Dana can get issue 8. Okay, so thank you very much. I think so. If everything is clear with the issues, we're all done with this week's weekly sync.
I think we agreed to try to have the office hours at the beginning of the week, so I will try to do on not Monday, but Tuesday maybe. I will tell you tomorrow in the Slack.
Yep, thank you. Please try to have it at least until Tuesday. And Chamaka will be handling the code reviews for this week. Okay, so thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.